Jimmy here. Today I want to show you how I put together this little turquoise ring in copper. First, I got some 14 gauge dead soft copper wire, and I'm going to cut about 7 inches. I'm going to do my fingers, so I'm going to go 7 inches. Like smaller rings, I'm going to do 6. Between sizes 4 to like 7, I'd say 6 to 6.5, then 7 inches upwards. Snipping all the wire. Next, I used a pair of flush cutters for this, just to cut them. So, flush cutters. Next, I'm going to take a Sharpie, and I'm going to mark halfway down both of these wires. So, yeah, 3.5 inches right there. It's our midway point. Yep, there we go. Bazam. Next I'm gonna take 2.5 feet of 21 gauge half round in half hard. Yeah, so let me take about 2.5 feet of it. Should we go for this? I'm also gonna take some half hard 18 gauge half round copper wire, and this is half hard. So far the only dead soft we have in this project is the 14, and I'm going to cut 2 8-inch segments of this. 2 8-inch segments of 18 gauge half round, half hard copper wire. Bizarre. Alright. Now we have these 5 pieces of wire. We've cut 2 7-inch segments of 14 gauge half round dead soft, 2 8-inch segments of 18 gauge half round half hard, and 1 2.5 foot segment of 21 gauge half round half hard. All copper wire. I get all my copper wire from Rio Grande. RioGrande.com is definitely worthy of checking out if you're trying to get into jewelry making and such practices. Deciding. Okay, so we're gonna take our half round here, and we're just gonna pair the ends together so we can fold it in half, so we have it split just like that. Then we're gonna set our 18 gauge aside for the moment. We'll come back to that in a minute. But first, let's take our 14 gauge that we've made the mark on. Let's take our half round and just squeeze it onto the surface halfway down, right on that mark, so it can wrap equal ways. So this will be like the middle of the bottom of the ring. The ring is shanked. Just take some parallel action pliers, or what other pliers you may have handy, and squeeze it down a bit. Let's give it like one little wrap around. 2 wraps around. Let's give it 1, 2, 3. So we have 5 wraps going towards the right. I'm gonna flip it over, and we're gonna do 5 wraps the other way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we got 5 wraps going each way, totaling 10 altogether. Now we are going to incorporate our 18 gauges here. So what we're going to do with these, gonna slide them together like this, with the half round side, or the rounded side, I should say, facing up, and we're gonna put the flat side facing down against the other flat side of our 14 gauge. Leaving about a 1/2 inch off each end to hang. Then we're just going to give it 2 wraps around now, around all those, bind them all together. 2. Then we're gonna lift. Actually, let's do this. Let's do another 2 wraps on the other side securing it. So our middle bottom of the shank will have these 2 parallel right there, like that. One, 2, flatten it down. And I'm going to create a kind of like a rotating pattern almost. Do 10, 2, then I'm going to do 5 with a crisscross 2, and then another 10, 2, 5, crisscross 2, and so on. To build our shank, and it'll give us a cool little design in it as it is being built. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to lift up 2 wires. These 2 wires on the end here are 18 gauge half hard. And then I'm going to wrap around the 14 gauge by itself. The 2 14 gauges, I should say. 5 times. 3, 4, 5. Now that we have those 5 wraps in place there, we're going to take, when I'm looking at it downwards this way, I like to see it as I guess you could consider it the bottom one. I see it as the right one, and go towards the left, and then do the same thing with the left towards the right. Just like that. I'm actually going to flatten this down a little bit and then do 2 wraps. We'll do 1 wrap, then flatten again, and do another wrap. Then I'm going to take those 2 18 gauge ends and pull them straight up again. I'm going to do 10 wraps. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Ooh. As I'm laying these, as I'm laying these 18 gauge back down, they are gonna want to kind of like not be as perfect as they are in the middle. So I'm just gonna like take a pair of chain nose pliers here. Just keep them tight together and just pull them straight down. It's going down, down, down. And just flatten it. Then I'm gonna give it another 2 wraps around. And smush it with the parallel action pliers. All right. So what I'm gonna do now. Hello. I have returned again. Okay. Now that we have going down one way, I'm gonna flip it over and do the same thing. Create that rotation going the other way. So we're going to lift these two 18 gauge half round wires here, and then wrap just together these two 14 gauge base wires. Five. Do the same thing. I'm going to take the bottom one, go criss cross, just like that. Give it a nice wrap around once. And squeeze down. Give a second one. Tighten it. just like that. Lift them both up, both the 18 gauges again. Give another 10 wraps around just the 14 gauges. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Parallel action. 9, 10. If you ever run into where you have 2 half rounds and you're trying to bind them side by side, just take time and make sure you get them nice. And just like keep them next to each other. Take the time. First one I did it after the 10 wraps, which was fun. Whenever, like, you'll know whenever you need to work with it a little bit. Yeah. Let's pull these guys down. Squeeze them together too. Give another 2 wraps here. There we go. There we are. This right here being the middle section, right in the middle of where I'll be, say like the underside bottom of the ring, wherever it is, will sit on your finger. I probably sound like a little bit of nonsense when I'm just talking and rapping. Sometimes I just my brain just keeps the mouth motors running, even though I don't really got nothing to talk about. Speaking my mind. Yep. And I'm gonna pull these 18 gauges up off the top again. Do another 5 wraps. Do the crisscross again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do that crisscross. Squeeze down a little bit. Squeeze the crisscross down. One, 2. Squeeze them all down. I'm going to flip over to the other side and do the same thing again. Pulling the 18s up off the other end. Doing 5 wraps and doing the crisscross and then wrapping them back down. Put our 5 wraps around there on this side. We'll do a little crisscross. Criss and cross. And just flatten that shit down. And then 1, 2. 1. Flatten that. 2. Flatten it down. I want to see what size I want to make my ring. I know it's going to come out to about a size 8, 8.5 for my finger here. Yep, size 8.5 right there. So I got this nifty little tool. It's a ring sizer. What I like to do is I take it to the size and then I can just measure it up to the size I want it to be at. So I know that I want a size 8.5, so it's going to need to be about 2.5, about 2.5 inches long. So far I've got about 2.25 worked my way up. So one more time on each side. I think I'm going to add I'm going to do one more little actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift both sides up and do 5 wraps instead of 10 in our pattern. But I'm going to do 5 and then 2 to tighten it down. 4, 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's work our 2 18 gauge half rounds back down. Do 1, 2 to secure it. And all tight. And pull them back off the surface. And give them 1 wrap. Put it down now. Tighten it down. I'm gonna leave my half round 21 gauge half round hanging off there. I might use that later. I might snip it off. I have yet to decide. Five. Same this side. 3, 4, 5. Down. 1, 2. Creating this pattern here. That will be our ring shank's little design to it. On the back of the surface here. One wrap. Just leave it hanging out off the edge for the moment. So here we are, the ring shank. Measuring that up. Yeah, it's right about to where we want it ish. Actually, I might have gone a little too far. I'm making this ring a little bigger, actually. So now that we've got this, we're going to take this ring size and mandrel. We're going to start forming here. Start right in the middle first. That middle 10 wrap section, just start working it around a circular shape. I want this, I'm doing this, I want this the right side to come underneath of the left side. Ring is going to come out to about a size 10, 9.5-ish. Yeah. So I'm going to take my parallel action pliers and just kind of like squeeze it down the middle here. Next, I'm going to get myself a 8-inch segment of 16 gauge half ramp. Dead soft copper wire. An 8-inch segment of this. Alright, so now we have our 16 gauge dead soft copper wire. I'm going to fold it in half, kind of like we did the 21 earlier. And you want the, so, sorry, squeeze it down. You want to make sure whichever way it's coming up, like if you got, you want it to go, if this makes sense, you'd like want the right one to go off towards the right one that's on top. and this one, the left one, to go toward, like, over that one on its side. It should be going outwards over the topmost one. There's a better way for me to explain it, but I can't find the words in my memory bank at the moment. There we go. And all nice and flat and tight and stuffs. So do 2, definitely 3 around it. When you're doing this, you want to kind of like, you don't just want to like pull them through, you want to like bend the wire in a rotating motion so it kind of just like rolls itself through as you push it. Like this. Like, give a little bend with your finger like that first, and then just take it and start rolling it in. Right at that edge there. Yeah. Let me decide what stone I want to use for this piece. Well, I got some turquoise cabs and I got some moonstone cabs right here. I just picked up both 6mm cabs, I believe. Double check that. They're all the same size. I know that for sure. Yep, 6mm. So I'm gonna handle this like any adult would, and eeny, meeny, miny, moe. Eeny, meeny, miny, moe. Get your tiger past him. If you always let him go, out goes Y-O-U. I'm using one of these guys. So I'm using a 6mm. Round turquoise cab. I really like the color of turquoise, so it'll show up really well in the copper too. Like this copper has a like reddish orange, which is like contrasting to the blue on the color wheel, so this gives a really nice pop. So beat at 6mm. We can give this a total of say another 2 to 3 wraps. Let's go one this way first. 1. 2. Yeah, that'll be good. Just so there's like just a little space off the end off each end of our cab there, just like that little fraction of a millimeter. That's all I need. That's all I need. Then we are going to pull our ring shank tight. Pull it until the underside. You see there, it all comes together. You can't pull anymore. Then you're just gonna take the 14 gauge, come off the ends, and turn it straight up towards the sky. Reach for the sky. Is that what Woody says in one of Woody's catchphrases when he pulled a string in Toy Story? So we got this. We got this going on. We got this little fancy ring shankity-dang thing. It's gonna be a nice thumb ring for me. You know, I've been getting a lot of requests from people actually to make more men's rings anyway, so let's go with it. Alright. So now we got those two guys bent up there. Just gonna stand there. Cool. So we're gonna turn these 14 gauge wires kind of out of our way right now, because we just don't want them in our way. Not doing us any good at the moment, being right there in my way. So let's just play with them a little bit gently. Just get them out the way. I'm going to take the 16 gauge now that we used to bind this all together. And what I'm going to do is I'm kind of like give it this, so I'm going to curve this one like this. Do the flip it upside down, do the exact same thing the other way. Pull these 18 gauges back all the way as well. Let's slide our stone right in the middle there. Just hold the stone there with my finger a little bit and pull that one over there right through that corner. You see how I did that? And do the exact same thing on the other side. Just like that. Bam. I'm going to take a 16 gauge, I'm going to like curl it like I did before the other wire. Just going to work it through the middle there. As for this 21 gauge, I'm actually going to pull it across our two 18 gauges here. Across the both of them. Just like that. And then I'm going to pull it back around inside this first one. Loop it around there. I'm gonna wrap a couple times, say like 3 times just to get started. Give a little squeeze. Tighten it on there, secure it. Then we're gonna go back to my 16 gauge here. Give it a little snip. Snip, snip. And just press it down there. And do the same thing to the other side. We did. Curl this little guy through here. Holding our finger pressure on the point where the stone and the wire touch, basically. Kind of holds it in place then, if you do it that way. Taking my previously unused 21 gauge. Get these 14 gauges up out of my way a little bit now. Move. And pulling it. Now the first one, the closest one to where it's coming from. Do them 3 wraps. Then we're going to take our, this is a 16 gauge, pull it up there, give it a snip, and press down in there. Pull the sides down a little more. Expose more of the face of the stone. Oh yeah. It's a nice looking pebble. I'm gonna squeeze the sides here. Tighten it to the frame. These pliers, actually make sure to squeeze it in there good enough. Same thing to the other side. There's what we have. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take these 2 wires and bend them both down and out on both sides. I'll take the under one first I'm gonna give this little twist and loop it around the other one. Now I'm gonna do that on both sides. To create that little kind of loop shape. Now at this moment in time, I'm going to take my 18 gauges on both sides and pull them straight up. Pull the one that does not have any wraps on it away from the one that does have some wraps, and vice versa. Pull them away from each other and give the one that has some wraps about like 10 more wraps. Actually, make it 12 more wraps. A dozen more wraps. For a total of 15. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. There we go. Pull this guy straight up. Just like that. Do the same thing to the other one. Another dozen wraps and pull it straight up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12. Flatten it down. So we got looking like this. Okay, now let's move back to our 14 gauges we had over here hanging off the sides right now. Going out these ways, these guys. I'll take the first 14 gauge. Just give a little bend in the shape around the piece like that. Over the back side. Same thing on the other side. Everything in unison. I'm going to curve that in and do a little bleep blop curve. That's not a word. Yeah, just pull it through there. Do the same thing to the other side. I like to make sure everything's done like evenly on the other side before I cut and tighten it, because if you don't, then sometimes one side will be like looser than the other and whatnot. This side's hanging a little low actually. Push it back up. There we go. Tighten that to the frame and give it a little snippy snip. And flatten it down. Just go tighten it onto the frame. A little snip snip. Cut a little shorter than that actually. Got it looking like that. What we do here now, we take two 10-inch segments of 24 gauge half hard round copper wire. Two 10-inch segments. Do is just start wrapping this around here. Just make a little bend on it. Tighten it down. We want the snip the end and have it going on the flat side on the inside. Flat side will be the inside of this ring. On the outside of the round, we have one wrap, 2, 3. I'm going to slide it all the way down to the bottom here. Helps it. Ooh, sorry. Helps sometimes if you take another pair of pliers and hold it at the tip and then just slide it down. 3, 4, 5. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 20. Slide it down again. Oh, punch myself in the gut. Dang. Oh my. That was unpleasant. Get these 18s out the way. Get my weight a little bit. So 20 reps. Let's do 10 more. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's give it another 5 wraps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Another 5. So altogether 40. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I know that's long enough now, so I'm going to snip it after 40 wraps, and I'll tighten it down to the flat back inside. Curve this guy. I'm going to do the same thing to the other side here now. First, I'm actually going to take our 4 we just wrap. Let me clip there, bend it inwards. Tighten it on there, and give it a little snippy snip. There we are. Do the same thing to this 14 on the other side. Area a little bit, so see back. Get it on there. Oops, come back here. I'm not through with you. Snip it. Push to the inside. The outside. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There, I'm gonna slide it down. Oop. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All together we're doing 40. Just remember that from the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 40. Get a little snip here in the back. And tighten it down. Let's curve this bad boy back around through here. Giving us that cool like oval shape around it now. Snippy snip. And push it down in there. Now we got these 18 gauges coming off here. What I'm gonna do with these guys, I'm gonna take my bare one here and I'm gonna pull it down in front of the one that has some wrapping around it and spiral off it upwards. I'm gonna give this guy here another like 10 wraps, I'd say. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then I'm going to take this guy, the flat side facing the flat side of it. I'm going to follow this spiral, just like so. From here I can see I'm probably going to need about, let's say another 5 wraps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm gonna give a little snip at the end and flatten it, the 21 gauge to the flat side of this 18 gauge half round. I'm gonna spiral this spiral around it, following it like that. First passing the coiled segment through, just like that. Give it a little snip. Tighten it to the frame like that. Give it a little step off spiral. Follow with the bare one right next to it, doing the same thing. Just wrapping around under there, pulling it tight. Give it a little snip snip. Whoa! A little shorter than that. And tuck it under there. Under itself, basically. Won't get snagged on anything. Stays out of the way. Nice. That's one side. Then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Now we know we had 15 more wraps this time to this guy, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Squeeze them 10s down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Give it a little snip and flatten it to the flat side of the 18 again. Shit's all like nice and down. And same way as before, first we're going to take the bare wire and pull it down in front of this here half round. We're going to curl it upwards. I'm going to take the half round that's coiled and we're going to spiral it around. Just like that. And we're going to work it through there. Take your pliers. If it's not shaping itself the way you want it to, just a little bit. Fidget quite a bit to get the wires the way I want them to go. Next I'm going to give it a little snip snip and tuck it up in. Spiral this guy out here. The half round that's bare, 18. Just keep the half round, the flat side facing out with it. Tighten it down. Give it a little snip and tuck it up in there. And there we go. Woo! And there we go. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to my YouTube. I'm working on a Patreon. I'd like to build some more internet presence first. But I like to share the knowledge I have accumulated. And check out savagebeanstudios.com where you can see all the pieces I have available too, and other artwork that my significant other and myself make together.